Hey everyone, welcome to another Reasons and Resources episode. For this episode, we're going to look at reasons and resources for learning Bash. This may well be quite a short and sweet episode because I haven't really used Bash that much, and it's on my list of things to learn, things to dabble with. So I will definitely be using these resources to do that at some point. However, I have worked on other command line interfaces over the years. Probably my first introduction to working at the command line would have been in DOS way back when I was often using it to automate startup scripts with batch files and a few other things as well. Since then, I've probably used, similar interactive command shells like PowerShell, those sort of things. And I have used Linux a little bit, so I've used a little bit of Bash. But what I've noticed recently, as I've been using more command line interfaces, my interest in taking a look again at Bash has increased. But also at some point I've got a couple of laptops which I'm going to be swapping over to Linux, because basically there's nothing wrong with them. However, they won't run beyond Windows 10, so I'm going to be swapping them out whenever Windows 10 stops being updated to be Linux machines, because the sort of things I use them for, which is primarily experimenting with programming, aren't going to be affected by me switching over to Linux on them. I'll still be able to do the things I want to do. So yeah, really, my reasons for learning them are curiosity and just checking out, as I said, similarities with stuff I've done before. Previously, any stuff I've done at the command line, as I think I pointed out at the start, has been for scripting, automation purposes, and also quite a number of years ago, I was playing around a lot with piping. So, where you might feed a text file through an application. So back in the good old days, the bad old days, however you look at it, of DOS 3.1, a popular thing to do was send things through Edlin, pipe them through Edlin, and do automated modifications on the contents of files and things like that. So that's that's another area that I've dabbled in. So looking wider at reasons and reasons why people might want to learn Bash. So there's the automated and scripting, which I've already covered. Then there's the whole system admin and control. So, if you're interacting with Linux or some sort of operating system like, Mac, Bash is your primary interface. Understanding how to get around it, navigate the file system, manage processes, configure settings, those sort of things are really useful. And as I think about it, I have done a little bit of server admin through Bash, through the command line in Microsoft Server as well over the years. Then you've got this other aspect, which is often, as if you're a developer, you find yourselves in the terminal for compiling code, things like that. And often while you're in there, you may want to do other things as well. So it's quite handy to know, file management tricks, those sort of things that you can do while you're in the command line anyway, compiling your code, or managing version control through Git. It'll also give you a good foundation for other command line tools. So seeing as you're in the command line anyway, you then start to want to learn other things that operate in the command line. There might be some interaction there, certainly piping of output and processing output. There's a book I saw quite a while ago on, I think it's called Data Science on the Command Line. So there's a whole load of data science you can do on the command line as well, to do with, what's it called, munging data manipulation. And it's quite fun as an early exploration to take CSV files, text files, and try piping them through various programs to convert them in various ways. And certainly one of the things I found it really helpful over the years is that working on the command line, working through a CLI, has given me a sort of better understanding of file structure as well. Has an interesting sort of side effect. And then of course there's old troubleshooting and debugging things. Once you're in the command line, there's various tricks you can use to inspect logs, monitor the system resources, look at certain processes that might be problematic. There's diagnostic commands, all those sorts of things. But the most important thing, I think, is the fact that you can automate things through bash scripts, through scripts you run in bash basically, and so therefore you're able to automate tasks and such like. So let's look at some resources. I will include some links firstly to the Wikipedia article in my description, but then some other stuff. Before we look at the resources, let's look quickly at see where bash comes in the grand scheme of things in the Stack Overflow 2024 survey. And you can see bash and shell is pretty high up the list. So yeah, at some point you're going to have to tackle the thorny issue of working in the shell and programming in the shell. It's going to come eventually. I got introduced to it fairly early when I was working on early PCs and PC clones through DOS, because the amount of boot up memory management you had to do in batch files and various other shenanigans to get certain programs to work, particularly if you were interested in gaming back then. That you generally had to roll your sleeves up and mess around in batch files and sys files and such like. You can see ADMAR guide pretty high up. And in terms of top paying, what are we going to see? Probably slightly lower down. Remember in this as well, PowerShell is a separate entry, but there's similar techniques and tricks you can learn in PowerShell in terms of scripting. Where's it gone? Is it not there at all? Maybe. Oh no, there it is. There we go. Between Zig and MicroPython. I'm planning on, just as an aside, doing a tiny experiments episode on NIM actually, because I see this bubbling up. In terms of other resources, handily, there is a book called the Linux Command Line, and it's been released under Creative Commons license. You can download it for free as a PDF. You can buy it if you like, the printed version, like I quite like. I don't have this. I do have somewhere lurking around a book about one of the flavors of Linux, one of the distros, but I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, you can download it. There it is. And 6th edition 2024. As you can see, it's been updated quite a few times. There's also the bash guide, so you can work your way through that. So quite a number of online resources, exercises. You can see you can sort of tick off here as you go along. We've got the new bash manual, so you can go in there, learn it that way. There is a free code camp tutorial on Linux from October 2022, how to use common terminal commands. We've also got some articles as well. I did a search on Bash, so some articles and tutorials there as well. Bash is covered on exorcism. There's some code, there's some exercises you can do there. So start off with the whole hello world thing and progress from that point and go down various scripting rabbit holes. On my programming polyglot, I haven't got around to doing Bash yet. It was one I skipped over. Again, I have a tendency to skip over the ones where I don't feel I can adequately critique any code that may be generated through large language models. So yeah, that's been put on hold for the moment. I'm going to circle back round once I actually pick up this project. It hasn't so much ground to a halt, but I'm going off on other directions as a result of this, and I will be looping back round at some point and carrying on where I left off. So I suspect I might be doing some of these. Certainly I might be at some point looping back round and doing NIM. I'm certainly going to do a Tiny Experiments episode on NIM. I think it's planned for about the 4th video in the series. I've got 3 specifically on large language models and Python and Llama, and also some online models, and then the 4th one I'm going to do Tiny Experiments on, common idioms, common functionality in NIM. So there we have it. Hopefully you'll find these resources useful, and as I said, I'll include links to all of these in the description. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.